Hey everyone, how you doing? Just thought I'd jump on today and kind of do some videos. I want to do some more stuff outside of SEO this week and Fight Club. Just me rambling, maybe answering some questions. I'm sure you people have some of the same questions that I do or that I had. So today I want to talk about content creation tools, primarily for link building. Just because it seems to be it's an always a pain point for SEOs. How am I going to get new content created? Where am I going to get new content created? Do I buy new content? Do I write new content? Do I use software? Which software writes the best content and all that jazz? And it's a debate that goes on and on and on and on. And then as tools evolve and content gets better, I'm sure it'll continue well into the future. There's a couple reasons that I think that is one, you just need a lot of content to do link building, whether you're doing it by tools or using PBNs or doing outreach or doing as an author on particular high authority sites, etc. So you need that. There's always that. And then two is that there's a lot of people that want to do or create or see content that come out of tools, and they kind of expect that this content is going to be the greatest shit since sliced bread. And the fact of the matter is a tool is a tool. It's not a human being. And it is no better at writing content than Google is at determining or reading content, right? It's a machine. So if you feed the machine garbage, you're going to get garbage out. And I think that's kind of the two takeaways from tools and actually using content creation tools that you need to understand right off from the get-go. You're not going to get money site website content that converts or that ranks out of the box out of a content creation tool. It's just not going to happen. You are going to have to edit that content. There's no way around it. And it just, that's just the way it is. Okay. So, but that said, there are some tools that I like to use for link building stuff that really it comes close, depending on the application and how you use it, to being, decent enough for a private blog network or a GSA run or whatever else you're doing for your link building. And I wanted to show those off and kind of tell you like what works and what doesn't in regards to these tools, so you can make your own, build your own tool set. Now these four, I'm going to show you four. I have four in my tool set, and I'm going to kind of go tell you use cases of them, and then you can add or delete from your own, or if you want to leave in the comments ones that you think are awesome, then go for it. That'd be cool. So. Alrighty, so I want to share screen, minimize, and the first one, as you can see here, is Content Machine. This is Restream, so you guys can see that. Oh yeah, I got a Rodecaster Pro. Thing's awesome. Just pushing my new microphone. I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, these little things. Yay. Anyway, so this Content Machine. Content Machine was probably my first content creation software that I actually got into. There's some other stuff that came pre this, Instant Article Wizard and all that stuff. I've tried all that madness. But Content Machine is actually pretty cool, and mainly what I use this for GSA runs. The tool is actually fairly simple. You just come in here, fill out the campaign name, which is obviously the. I'll run one just for the heck of it. Let's go.
Always scan this section.
Shut up.
Always scan this section.
What is going on? This Windows. It's like I have something turned on that I shouldn't have turned on. It's really stupid. Oh, that's because I'll restart it.
Always scan this section.
All right. Well, I was going to show you this, but now this is being stupid, and I think there's something going on my server, and I don't know what to turn off because I'm not a Windows guy.
Always scan this section.
Oh, I turned that off. I don't even know what's going on here right now.
Always scan this section.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on with it right now. I'm probably going to have to shut it off. All right, so I apologize. I had that all set up and ready for you guys to go, but now you... Okay, so that's Content Machine. Content Machine 3.0 is actually, I'll just kind of talk you through it anyway, but what you do is you see the campaign name, you fill that in and you give it 3 words. So I was going to do survival gear. So you would put gear for survival, gear for cold weather, and gear for survival in hot weather. And there's 3 options, 3 places for keywords. And then if you want to, you can get it to scrape images and all that madness. But for GSA runs, typically I just leave it without images or any of that stuff. And then the next screen, you can pick a contextual links. That's if you want to drop in like authority links, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes, you can't see me, but if you want to drop in authority links, etc., inside of there, with that, it'll just let you like add. You can add your own, or it'll go out and search for them. Typically, it's going to end up to be a Wikipedia kind of thing. My opinion is I don't use those either. Just kind of a waste of time. So I shut those off. And then you just click send the cloud. And what that does is there's an API key inside a Content Machine. It builds a campaign up, builds articles out, and then all the little widgets and everything else that you need to fill in for GSA SEER are all pre-populated. And then when you open up GSA, it'll just, you click on the API, import, and then everything's, ta-da, it's all filled out. It's like magic. And that's how I use Content Machine. That's the content that I use for GSA search engine ranker. There's nothing special about it. I'm not trying to write something fancy. I'm not worried about what happens if there's, some kind of random words in my article. What if my articles aren't formatted? Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I don't care. And so that's where Content Machine excels. The next one I want to talk to you about is for content creation tools is Article Forge, and this one actually it's gaining a lot more popularity these days. It's based off of supposedly the GPT-2 and maybe GPT-3 is implemented in there. I'm not even sure. The OpenAI project. This is supposedly that's what they're doing, and it actually is fairly decent. And I like using this to create PBN stuff, not outreach, not like posting on real people's sites. I'm talking about private blog network stuff for network sites. You're doing small network PBN blasts. Typically, I only do 10 PBN links at a time to see what is going to happen. Anyway, so this tool is actually really cool for that. The user interface is really easy. You just come in here. You can drop your keyword. Let's do it for the hell of it. We'll go. Let's go survival gear. And let's go cold weather, survival gear, hot weather. So I'm just going to build a general article. So survival gear and wet weather, survival gear. And you can put up to 5 words in there. It doesn't tell you that. It just says, hey, add your subwords. You'll go out the first time you use it, research a whole bunch of them, put like 10 or 15 in there, and it'll say, oh, we only use 5. So now you know. They only use 5. And pick the article length. Typically, for the most part, I just keep it at long. If I have my own idea for titles, and I won't mess with this, but I like to turn it on for most part. I don't add images. I don't add videos. And I do the link stuff if I just kind of want to get the process through a little bit faster. And it's really easy. You just add a new replacement, drop your keyword, drop the lines, and then I actually lock them together so that it's not doing its own thing and just finding random keywords. So I'll lock those together per URL inside of there. And then the cool thing about this is the same people that made Word AI made this. So I always put it on very readable. I'm only looking for 10-ish articles out of this thing anyway. Rewrite sentences sometimes, and then I'll rearrange sentences sometimes. So I got that all done, and then you just mash the button and you can go. It takes a little bit. You can see the progress bar there. It'll run on its own for a typically 3 to 5 minutes is usually what you kind of can expect out of this. But again, you'll see when it brings it up. The content's not too bad. Some things that inside of here that it's all right, but you might get yourself in trouble is the WordPress publishing. You just going through and pushing this content right to your WordPress with willy-nilly. If you're doing a mass page site or it's a churn and burn site, then who cares? Just go for it. Knock it out and build some internal silo pages for your primary money pages that you're burning, and then profit while it lasts. But and then there's a post scheduler. You can do this, kind of feed it some information, let it go. It does its own thing, and then it posts on its own. I haven't even tried that one. That might be a good thing if you're doing a mass page. You can kind of add a WordPress plug in here and schedule all the posts and then go to town with it. But again, I've never tried it, so I can't speak to that. But as a content creation tool, it's actually not that bad. Some of the articles I've gotten out of here are kind of weird, but for the most part, I find that they're pretty good. Hold on a second. I had to cough, and I didn't want to do that in your ear. Again, what I was saying is the articles come out of here. They're not that bad. The better or more concise your keyword list is, directed towards your topic, the better content you're going to get out of this tool. But for the most part, think about it. It's an AI. It's a content generation tool that a machine is kind of spitting out. So you're not going to want to put this on a long-term money site. Churn and burn, go for it. Totally fine. Even silo stuff on a money site, you're probably you're probably going to be okay. It's not going to be content you want to promote anywhere to anybody. In real, that's like real or that you think is going to convert. But if you're just building some relevancy stuff in a silo and you want to hide it on your website, make it pages, not posts, and then use that as a linking targets, so you can actually pass your link juice through your blog post versus directly to your money pages. That might be a better option than saying then I would say than using a syndication and posting it through blogs and doing RSS and all that madness. It'll kind of ruin the reputation of your site with users. So, this is also good content to just start if you don't know anything about a topic. I've talked about using one of the other tools that we're going to go over, Mentorprise. I've talked about using that for that step of the content creation is kind of the research of it all. That works as well, and I think it's a good thing to do, especially if you're a phrase user or a surfer user. Primarily phrase, though, you can create that content brief. Get some understanding of what you're looking for, get some more keywords, and be able to fill out these subwords, etc. Come in here, fill all that out, get a nice base article. So now you have your content brief from Surfer or Phrase or wherever, and then you plug this in on top of it. So here's this is an unresearched article just to kind of get you started, kind of thing. And then you hammer the article out, and that would work. Just some writers kind of need more help, right? They're not necessarily know your niche and stuff, so you can give them a tool to do that. That process also works better when you're dealing with in-house people and they have access to all the Mentorprise or whatever to get started, so they know where it's coming from versus a traditional VA where here's your content brief. I had an article pre-written. It's not very good at all, but it's kind of better than starting with nothing kind of approach. And when you hand those off to people, especially freelancers and non-native speaking freelancers in particular, you're just going to get an edited version of your article forge thing, which not necessarily is always going to be that bad, but as with anything, garbage in, garbage out. And so that's kind of how you have to deal with that. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'm watching the Restream chat, so I'm not actually in YouTube or Facebook. I'm using Restream. And so I see everything. If you guys are hitting me up on with questions on Facebook or YouTube, let me know. And I wanted you to see this kind of in real time, how long this takes. I'm not going to do this with SEO Content Machine. That's the next one. It takes a little bit longer. But I wanted to see this just so you have a decent idea. I heard someone saying today that it was taking like 20 minutes to get an article. As you see how long it's taking here, probably 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and it's almost done. I've noticed that the complexity of the terms, so the more general I am with my keyword selection, the longer it takes for it to write an article. If I'm very specific in my keyword selection, I pick really good clustered terms, Typically I see that the articles come back a lot faster. And that could be a couple things. One is maybe the AI just doesn't have, it's got to go out and find the information about the topic that we're looking for inside of its data set, put that all together, and then turn that into an article. And I'm not entirely sure that's how Article Forge works, but I'm venturing to guess that that's what it's doing. It's finding what's ranking based on the keywords you give it, taking all that stuff, and it's being inputted into OpenAI, and then OpenAI, assuming that they're using that, and then they probably are, is analyzing that and then building a corpus off of it, and then turning out and spitting out an article for you. So 20 minutes is probably not really necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. Still waiting. Got a random question from Scott on the YouTubes. Thanks for the great content tips. I have a question, but not content related. Do you still highly recommend Magic PR for press releases, or is there anything better out there? I'm a Cision reseller. So if you know what PR Newswire is, Cision and Harrow, I actually resell those PRs. And so, and I tell you that because there's two types of press releases. There's the normal press release that most SEOs think about, which is entirely for the purposes of link building. Press Advantage, which Chris Munch's thing, I'm sure that's still out. Press Cable, Quantum, Magic PR. Those are all Web News Plus and Cision. Those are all, it's all link building stuff, right? So no one's really going to read those. You're probably highly unlikely to get any traffic out of them. You're just doing it for the backlink. So, and when you do that, your selection of networks is really, you just got to kind of think about where are they going to. And in the case of Magic PR, I know that he's got, I think it's like 50 sites of his own that are in Google News. So those 50 Google backlinks that are already there. They're already indexed. He's got his own site, and then he's got syndication partners, and those syndication partners are pretty much the same as what everyone else is using. I think Quantum, as far as I remember, or from what I heard, is Quantum has their own network of 50-ish sites. Nothing wrong with that. I have 10 of the websites that Magic PR publishes to. I tried to get Quantum to publish to him too. He didn't seem interested about it. But as I build those news sites out a lot better, I'll approach different people and just kind of populate my websites with that stuff. So, but those are all in Google News. Let's see. What else? But the difference with Magic PR and like a Press Advantage or Quantum or whatever is that Mag is actually building links to your press releases. Primarily the ones that show up on his website. He's not dumb, but he's building links to the links that are on his site that all the press releases are linking back to as well. And what that does is it creates a nice booster, and you get some more immediate value out of your press release versus just having the pages show up with no backlinks and dependent solely on the authority of the website in which they came on, which is smart. So you're going to get it. You get a good report, you get the links, and then if you're really smart and you're using tools like I am, you can backlink those PRs and increase the value out of them. And you just be a little bit more selective when you do that. You're not, if you get 300 backlink or 300 published PRs, and you're not going to want to do you're not going to want to backlink to all of those, right? So filter that out and do like DA60s or whatever your measurement is, and you'll be fine. Sean Lewis, I clicked the bell so I get notified. Forgot you were on, so I'll listen from the beginning later. Oh, no worries, Sean. I'm building content for link stuff, and I thought this would be a good topic to kind of, chat with you guys and just hang out and do something non-formatted for once. Let's see. I'm going to talk to Madge about posting to our SEO Nitro network as well. Yeah, that'd be great, Dory. Like I said, I've got 10 websites. It's my websites are all plugged in directly to Madge's syndication, and his syndication is through a customized plugin that is developer made. The downside for me is the theme that his developer chose to run the websites when I bought these news sites from them. If you edit the theme, it breaks the connection with Madge's stuff, and that it makes those sites pretty much useless to me right now. So, but once that gets figured out, Madge is going to sell the news sites from my understanding, he's going to sell them for less and then give you access to the plugin so that your news sites will always get fresh content based off of his press release service, which is really good. If you've never managed a news site before, that's what the hardest part is finding the content. And then if you're trying to monetize it with something like AdSense or etc., just dropping it in, like a Holly Stark, she teaches syndication and finding other people's content and syndicating that on your news site. Well, that you can get approved for Google News that way. However, you can't get approved for AdSense because the manual reviewers for AdSense will go back and see that you're just syndicating content, and they don't want that inside of their AdSense thing. Albeit, obviously, AdSense isn't the only way to monetize these things, but it's probably the easiest way because it'll customize and all that other stuff. And if you're just getting general news traffic, you don't really care. You get the random clicks and just kind of make some money that way. And that's why I bought 10 of them. I want to put together 10 sites and build another stream of income. So when Dory Friend gets sick of me over at SIA, then I have something to fall back on later. So we'll see how that works. All right, so still waiting on Article Forge. Yeah, it's not making it. So my guess is it's probably still busted hotness. I would show you examples of that, but I just cleaned out all of my other articles anyway. But so that's the one I use for. Again, I use Article Forge for PBNs. Use it for templates. I'll use it inside of my content briefs if I want to, or I'll use it for, let's say I'm building some Quora generated pages. Quora's got Quora Outreach, Quora Lite, and Quora itself, and they make some HTML stuff. You can put Article Forge content on there and publish that as a web page and use that for backlinking if you wanted to. You can get all that stuff done with Article Forge, and it's pretty easy. The next one I want to talk about is SEO Content Machine, and I'm doing that back to back with Mentorprise intentionally because if you guys remember or you've watched the show with any amount of regularity, or SEO this week specifically, you know that I had Paul on from Mentorprise, and back then this tool was actually pretty damn awesome, right? And we highlighted it, we showed you how to do it. I still recommend it. However, SEO Content Machine is stepping up their game. It would not surprise me, based off of how the features have been added to this, that the author for SEO Content Machine happens to be a Mentorprise user now. You kind of know how that works, right? So you get things off of each other, et cetera, and improve your products, and competition breeds for better stuff. And SEO Content Machine has really stepped up their game. I'm not going to create articles with this because this would be it would be a long show. So, but we'll kind of I'll walk you through the process, what I do with it. And my use case for this is PBN content. You can get some really good stuff with this. It can be spun or unspun, and I'll show you the settings when we get to that. And I also use it for the profile creator. I asked specifically for this. It was in the original version of SEO Content Machine, and then when he made the next version, that went away. And I asked for him to bring it back. And this is really like simple. You just push the button and it'll spit out and make a whole bunch of things. If you want to, you can come into this stuff and add keywords or whatever, just to make your bio a little bit more relevant. But for the most part, I don't even mess with that. I just do what I did right there. Just click the generate about me, copy clipboard, and you're off to the races. You can fill in all these macros and stuff. Let's say, I don't know if you're really OCD, if you can fill all these in and go like to the hobbies or like in the survival niche, for example, and find a whole bunch of, camping, fishing, survival, hiking, all that stuff, and drop those in there and make that a whole lot more relevant if you wanted to. You can drop the website in there if you wanted to, etc. But for the most part, if you're an SEO Autopilot user, Money Robots, not so much, but SEO Autopilot for sure. Ranker X, last time I used it, there's some bio parts in there. You can generate this, and you have your About Me. It's already done, and you're good for your profile links and Web 2 profile links and authority profile links with just this. And let SEO Autopilot handle the link insertion on its own. So that's really awesome. I like using that. And I use this every time I use the SEO Autopilot campaign. I'll use that feature. To create articles in here, really simple. Click the new create article, drop your keywords in here. In my case, I probably only do one. So let's go with winter. I'm going to fill this out. I'm not going to press go. Survival gear. Right. And then if you wanted to do HTML stuff, you can do that. Like if you're going to do, if you're going to have it do create headings for you, create tables of contents for you, you can do all that stuff in here. Then you're going to want to have the HTML article thing. Primarily, if you're doing like a PBN thing, that would be the best bet for this application. And then you can choose to create, like you can mess with these sliders. And if you see this little button this thing right here, it's going to, the more search results, the more articles you get. The same if you change and mess with the paragraphs and I'm going to drop that one down, and then the variations of the paragraphs. And you play with that all, and it'll basically say how many articles you can get out of it. What I almost exclusively do is create exact. I'm using this, like I said, if I'm building PBN links, I'm only doing 10 at a time. So I'll leave that just like that. And for the most part, it's done. And I don't want to spin. I want it to create 10 unique articles for me. I don't need the spin text in there. So I need 10 unique articles, and it'll do that right there. You can leave, and then if you want to, you can leave this on there. I leave it in there just in case. Maybe it's using it in the background. I'm not sure, but I only want 10 unique articles. If you lift the spin, then that spin rewriter would kick in, and I would actually pay attention a little bit and make sure that it doesn't overspin your stuff. And then the rest of this you can leave blank. What's really, really cool here is, let's say I ran this and I screwed up somehow. I can click this and it'll go back and all the searching and stuff that it did, it's all saved until you delete this. And it'll save it in its cache, and you can change like if I change this to just plain text, then I can use that same cache again to do plain text articles. If I wanted HTML, but this time I wanted spin text, then I can use that, and it'll go back and do all that. It'll use all the same stuff that I already got, and that saves you CAPTCHA, and it saves you a little bit of drama with with Google. So that's that. It's really simple. It's kind of cool. You can use this with SEO Autopilot too if you want to. If you follow along with Elias and how he builds his campaigns, this is perfectly acceptable to do that. The only reason I don't do it is this is actually really slow compared to Mentorprise. Okay, so and then here you get the headings. You can turn on headings. Typically, I'll do that, and it adds H1s and H2s. Since I have it in HTML, it's fine. I typically always turn on table of contents. Oh, I lose it again. Oh, excuse me. If you want to, you can drop some tweets and stuff in there, which is kind of interesting. You can drop Google Maps in there. You can make lists. You can do questions. It'll go into the people also ask section and scrape questions and answers for you. You can drop all that stuff in there. You can do some JavaScript, some HTML, all this stuff. It's really, really getting a whole lot better. Ironically, you can do all the same stuff in here. So that's kind of like why I think, because none of this stuff used to be possible, and then Mentorprise came out, started getting popular, and then they started adding all of this into SEO Content Machine. Custom content, typically I don't really mess with these. You can if you want to, but for the most part, I leave it untouched. URLs, I leave that untouched. And then here's if I want to, let's say I'm building the PBN stuff with this, I'll actually go in here and add the link that I want to do. So I'll add the URL, add the link, and click this, lock it, so make sure they're locked together. Typically, you're going to do, if you build a PBN post, don't waste it on just one backlink. Put a couple in there. If you're an agency and you're building and buying PBN links, then one for you and one for your client. Why not? No, you're not. That's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to put the same link twice under different keywords. You just want to do one link per one URL. So why not piggyback off of that? And you worked hard to get that link in the first place, especially if it's doing like a PBN network or something. You're paying for that. So why not drop some links in there for your own stuff and do your own promotion? Then when it's all said and done, you push run. Like I said, I'm not gonna run it just because it takes a long time. But what it does is it goes through and it collects articles from the web. You saw that search, typically I do the first 40, and then it'll mash up and create 10 articles. The articles come out somewhat pretty much decent. Like sometimes there's spacing issues inside of there. Like it'll turn a list into a paragraph, but because it's a list, they didn't have periods. So you got to go in and add the periods and add the extra spaces, and that stuff kind of comes out wonky. And you're never going to catch all of it, but for the most part, for link building content, it's pretty much good to go. All right, and then the last one is Mentorprise. Mentorprise I use almost exclusively for SEO Autopilot because it's fast. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this one, but everything that I do in Mentorprise also applies for SEO Content Machine because garbage in, garbage out. And it's just the way it is. And I'll repeat my caveat in the beginning. If you think that these tools are supposed to spit out readable content that is going to make sense to every user or make sense to users every time, then you're just fooling yourself. They're not going to do that. Tools are not designed to do that. They're not capable of doing that yet. If you want something like that and you think you're so smart, you can go get yourself OpenAI access and make a content creation bot. And shut up about it already. So, but these tools their intent is to create a whole bunch of stuff, so you can use that for whatever purposes. And in this particular case, Mentorprise was created by Money Robot users. They've since created their own little publishing system. I don't have access to it. Dory Friends tried it out, but I've never personally used it. But this tool here is actually pretty cool. The downside of it is it's a little bit on the pricey side. My version, I have an enterprise level account. It's $297 a month. Whereas my SEO Content Machine was a lifetime offer, and I bought that years ago. But I'm getting stuff a whole lot faster. So let me walk you through actually how to do this. You can see all this stuff in real time. I'll show you how to build the content for this and SEO Content Machine, so you actually get something that's not complete trash, and then you can go off to the races and try it for yourselves. So the first thing is a seed keyword or phrase. A lot of people are really often, or most often, doing stuff like this. Plumber Houston, for example, and then coming in here and filling out the headers and all that stuff, and then complaining because they got crap content. Well, if you do a search for Plumber Houston, you'll find that most of their pages are what? They're all directories. There are some plumbing sites here, Roto-Rooter, Angie's List directory, Yelp's directory, Village Plumbing, etc. And then you come to these pages, and they're not content pages. They have content on them, but they're not articles or anything like that. So if you feed a tool pages of, maybe there's probably 100 words in this section right here, and then a whole bunch of bullet points essentially, and mixed up. And so it's going to produce trash. It just, there's no way around it. You're asking the wrong question. So this is a whole lot better if you use something specific like changing a toilet. Let's go change a toilet. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. Let's go wet weather survival gear. And I know that's probably going to actually bring up a product. So let's look. Product pages. There's review. That's news. That's a guide. That is a guide. So this is probably a decent question to go on. And I'm doing wet weather. So let's see if there's some more questions in here. Cold weather gear, best survival gear. This one's not too bad. Extremely cold conditions. Guide, a list. This is a guide. It's a list. Same thing, list. So there's not a bunch of product pages. So I know I'm not sending this tool to scrape product pages and then have the gall to complain that I got bad content. So we did that. Now I do the headers. So this is where your keyword research comes in. I'm just going to do the ones that we added before. Wet weather, survival gear. Cold weather, survival gear, hot weather, survival gear, and survival gear. I always wanted to do my keyword cluster. So if it's survival gear, and I'm going to talk about those 3 types of survival gear in my survival gear post, I want to have that keyword cluster in there. And what this is going to do is going to put it all in the headings, which is totally fine. And then I also push the images. Typically, I don't use videos unless I'm promoting one of my own. So that's never a big deal. You can select up to 100 images, but the more you do, the more trash you get. So 30 to 40 is typically perfectly fine. Mentorprise is automatically putting image schema inside of there. It's wrapping it in microdata schema, which is really cool. If you have your own set of images, you can actually go and drop your own image URLs. You store them on something like your own website, or store them on S3 if you're building this for clients and stuff. And then it'll all that microdata stuff will come in there, and then your images will get traffic as well. That works better on the traffic thing if you're doing it and you're hosting them on your own website, by the way. And then I just choose random. There's no rhyme or reason to where you want to put your images. If you're OCD, you can put everything center and be done with it. And click auto. This one, videos, again, you can use that, but typically I only use it for when I'm doing my own stuff. And then the alt text you can drop in there. And I always put it at the top. That's just me. And then raw. I have a piece of code that actually moves the table of contents. You'll see it's kind of wonky. Generate table of contents. You just turn that on and it shows up. But without the raw there, it's kind of wrapped around the page. And I'll just show you that, and you can deal with it if you want to, or do what I do, and I'll give you the code. The replacer is if you're, let's say you build out some content, and let's say we're doing a template thing, and FreshBooks is there. FreshBooks is always there, and you don't want to give FreshBooks any extra boost it doesn't need. So Steve Toth and FreshBooks can get bent, right? And if you want to do that, you can actually come in here and use this, and it'll replace or just remove any instance in any of the spun versions of the articles that you create. It'll remove FreshBooks. And you can replace FreshBooks with your own brand, for example. So let's say you're doing an invoice generator template, and FreshBooks is the king of that, or account keeping or bookkeeping software article or whatever. You can go and find something on FreshBooks, get the same topic. Generally, FreshBooks is going to be dominant in it, and then replace FreshBooks with your brand name, and now you have you get some nice targeted stuff that's related and you're not feeding everyone else's mess. You can also set up a redirect in here if you want to. Let's see, this is really if you're using S3 stuff. Otherwise, just leave it alone. You don't need it. But basically, it just sets up a meta refresh inside of the HTML that you export, and it'll either immediately or 3 weeks from now or whatever you want to set it to, it'll redirect to wherever you want to going. And like SEO Content Machine, you can actually come in here and you can drop the URL inside of here and link it with those keywords, and it'll put that all inside of your content. I always, for link building stuff, I leave it on very readable. I don't need a whole bunch of noise. I use top 10 or top 20, typically top 20 when I'm building these out, and I'll use 600 to 800 keywords. You don't need 1,000 keywords. If you have that much, it's probably going to be really trash articles anyway. And on top of that, it's just kind of easy to pin that down as spam. So 400 to 600 words, 6 to 8, that's fine. You don't really need 1,000 for this stuff. And then you click generate new. If I wanted to, I could actually go into these other countries, get a list of, let's say, Canada, for example, and then change this over to Canada, and I'll pull content from the Canadian search engines, and then I'm using it to rank form in the English ones, or in the U.S. search engine in the .com. That's kind of cool. So if you do that, though, just make sure that you actually go through that process of coming in here and checking to make sure that the .ca has actually got lists like this one does. I didn't do that, and I just pushed generate pages. So the higher account you have, the more servers it runs for you, and the more servers, the faster the process is. This is typically, it's like a 3 to 5 minute process. And this thing generates plenty of content. So we'll wait for that. While we're doing that, you guys have any questions, let me know. Let's see, Sean, I used it years ago, but haven't used it in a long time. I'll revisit it now. Which one is that, Sean? Is that Mentorprise or SEO Content Machine? Because SEO Content Machine, I think I left that alone. I bought it, used it for a year or so, and then it just got so tedious. Like I really didn't care to do the work with it anymore. That's when I found Content Machine, the K. And that one works really well for GSA stuff. As you see, we're almost done. It's generating the articles for us. If this was SEO Content Machine, we'd probably be waiting here a good 15 minutes for that to be done. I have my road. I don't know if you guys seen this or use this now, but I got, as Ted would say, cheesy sound effects. Don't use the cheesy sound effects, he said. So in the for the sake of Ted, I just pushed all those buttons. I'm not going to do the intro, though. That was actually pretty cool, but it's a little bit long. Almost done. Chunk 4 of 5. What I like about this Roadcaster 2 is these sounds. Like, this is the ones that are built in, but I can actually store more, and I can replace those if I wanted to with my own versions of them, which is really cool. And you just upload them to the memory card that's in there, and you're off to the races. So stepping up my game. But I really got it so I can use this microphone, which is awesome. Okay, so you see the articles. I got 5 times 7, whatever the hell that is. I'm bad at math. And what, 30, I guess? I don't even try. 35, I think. So you can actually click on preview. You see how they come out. As you see here, the table of contents is wrapped around the paragraphs. It actually shows up in the HTML that way. That just kind of annoys the piss out of me. I absolutely hate that does that. And you see some of the stuff like right here. You guys can't see it, but hopefully now you can. There's like the spacing is off. It just means it pulled it from a list. There was no paragraph in that list, and that kind of jacked things up. And there's a few instances of that. But again, this is SEO autopilot content, so I'm not really all that worried about it. But I will say that the indexing has gotten a lot better because we're using the H tags, the table of contents and stuff. And it's kind of indicating to the algorithms right now that the page is a little bit better. If you want to just see different versions of it, and you just keep mashing the button, you see different versions of it. You can actually copy the spin text, or you can copy one spun result, which basically is the article output without the spin text in it in the HTML format. I'll show you here, and then I got to actually do this. And so you see it's all right there. Your schema is in there for the image. Your H tags are all in there. They're actually marked down. Your the table of contents is all in there, etc. If you added the redirects, all that code would all be in there. And really, at the end of the day, all you got to do is drop this into SEO Autopilot or Money Robot, just like this, if you wanted to, and every page will publish and it'll look like this. Especially if it's an HTML editor. If it's not an HTML editor and it just looks funky, then frankly, I don't care. But for the most part, every post that SEO Autopilot does is leveraging an HTML input style. So it all comes out looking really, really nice. And as you see, there's 7 different sets. And as you get down in here, this content gets a little bit uglier. So that one's 0. There you go. So there's 6 sets. But for the most part, again, this isn't something that you put on a money site, maybe churn and burn in your silos. But definitely you saw how easy that was. It was 5 minutes. I got 31 pages of content. If you're doing an SEO Autopilot campaign, running a DAS stack, if you know what that is, you need 7 articles. So in 5 minutes, I got 7 spun articles right there. You can actually, if you wanted to, click that, and now all 5 of those are super spun. I would caution you not to do a whole lot of that with SEO Autopilot because it makes that software mad, but you can super spin like 1 or 2, and that's totally fine. That's typically what I do for an autopilot run. And it's crazy easy. It's crazy fast. It saves it now. The past generation, you just click that button, you can come back and use these same 31 pages over and over and over again until you rank that page where you want, and it'll go, which is pretty good, and so that's kind of it, right? So the content creation tools again is Mentorprise, SEO Content Machine 3, and Article Forge. And then the use cases really is Mentorprise, SEO Autopilot. You can do this on PBNs too. Just make sure you fix all that formatting stuff. If you're going to do it on PBNs, it comes out somewhat decent. SEO Content Machine, PBNs, for sure. You can actually output Content Machine for GSA if you want to. The downside is there's no API, but there are folders, and it'll just go through and find your folders and input all that madness for you if you want it to. And I use Article Forge primarily for the PBN stuff. But you can use Article Forge and SEO Content Machine, combine those two, and it actually comes out with really good stuff. So you can do that for PBN stuff as well. And then Content Machine for GSA, Content Machine 3 for GSA, and that's 5 minutes. So 5 minutes for Autopilot, 5 minutes for GSA, and maybe 15, 20 minutes for your PBN stuff versus, and you're going to get probably the same quality of content that you get from an iWriter or something like that. And those guys are just finding content, scraping it, building it with a tool like this. I know a lot of writers on iWriter are actually using Mentorprise, spinning the article and then handing it to you and saying, thanks for your $5. So why not just skip the middleman and do it yourself? So that's kind of, that is what it is. If you want links, I have links to an affiliate program from Mentorprise. If you want that, just kind of hit me up in the comments and I'll hook you up. But for the most part, check these out. If they fit your needs, if you're doing a lot of link building stuff, then especially if you're using tools, then check these out. If you're not using tools, really, none of these are going to really help you at the end of the day. I would probably, in that case, I would invest in SEO Content Machine just so you can help with the where I was talking about using phrase and building the content briefs and all that stuff. SEO Content Machine would be really good for that. Same, it's just because the price point is a lot less than Mentorprise. In that case, the 5 minutes versus 15, 20 minutes is not really going to bother you at all. But unless you're doing content at scale, SEO Content Machine would be the winner there. If you just want to get stuff done fast and you don't really care about the output all that much, then you can come in here and get Mentorprise, and you pay for the speed. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing, is you're paying for the speed, and the speed is absolutely outstanding. So, what you see? All right, any questions? I think that's good. I've kind of rambled on here for a few minutes. An hour. So hopefully you got something out of that. Thank you for spending some time with me. Hope you like the new road. I'm gonna use all these buttons. I'm gonna continue to use those buttons just because I know that it bugs the hell out of Tychobitis. And he told me not to use them because he thought they were cheesy. So I'm gonna find more. And thank you guys for coming. Let's see, Sean, do you use SEO Content Machine for links to the money site or only tier 2 and 3? It depends on what your link building plan is, right? So like I said, I use that for PBN. So, and I'm not going to buy a PBN to link to a tier 2 site as a tier 2. That's just silly. So directly to tier 1, that content will go on there. But on the flip side of that is just because it's tier 1 and I made it a little bit easier to write, if you're going to use it on a PBN, not so much worried about editing, just really want to get formatting done. But if you're going to use it on an outreach situation, then I would probably use that to handwrite real decent content. In particular, if you're outreaching to a site that has really good authority in an audience and all that stuff, that's probably something that needs to be edited and built out, right? So, but for the most part, like today, I built some PBN stuff and I did pure SEO Content Machine content. I had to clean it up to make it look nice because you don't want to blow a network out. But there you go. Let's see, I have phrase too. I did a video, Sean. If you got phrase, I did a video on using phrase for content creation, like i.e. writing it, my writing process, where I go from word to phrase. In that video, I went to cognitive and then in links. Now I'm doing word to phrase to Surfer to in links, just because Surfer stepped up their game and the price was cheaper. It's like I saved me $40, I think, using Surfer over cognitive. So check that out. And then what you'll do is you'll see that what I'm talking about, we're creating an article with one of these tools and matching it with the content brief that's in there. And that will get you a whole lot closer. Let me get the episode number for that. The episode number is 180. I did it 2 months ago. It's SEO This Week, episode 180. And I walked through that whole process. I'll probably do it again because I changed up a few things, right? But if you guys are interested in it, let me know, and I'll do one showing you how to match the content briefs with these tools so that you can hand something off to your writers, and then maybe I'll revisit the content writing one. But for the most part, it's the same. I just changed the tool that I'm using so I can get. I just seem to get decent. Or I like the UI of Surfer better than I like cognitive. and it just seemed easier to use. And they just stepped up their game with the NLP stuff. So Cognitive was beating them out for a while, but Surfer fixed that. This is my favorite SEO channel, Clint. You do great. Thank you. I'll send the PayPal payment after this is over. All right. Let's see. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you guys thank you for joining me. I know I just kind of did some random stuff, and because Dory asked, I'll play a little bit of this thing and then call it an episode. All right, and there's 30 more seconds of that. Not too bad. It's kind of cool, actually. So I got to figure it out, load some more stuff in there, and I'm going to have some fun with it. And just because Ted calls it cheesy, I'm going to go find some of the cheesiest sounds I can ever and plug them all in there and use them endlessly just to annoy the hell out of all of you. All right. See you. Don't forget, SEO Fight Club is on today. No idea what the hell we're talking about. Ted tells us right before the show. So check us out there. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday.